What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Chris Gates Fitness Podcast. We're back. It's been a really long time since I have recorded a new podcast episode, since I have published a new podcast episode, and it's been a little while. There's been a lot going on, but we'll spare you all the details of being busy and dealing with kids and running a business and all the things that come with that, and just focus on the fact that I'm excited to be back here with a new episode and relaunch the podcast with a slightly different kind of approach here as we get back into publishing hopefully much more regular episodes. The new format, I think you're going to really like this, and this honestly fits my life, and so I feel like it probably fits your life too, because I know most of the people that follow me are busy parents who have a lot going on, and you probably don't have 45 minutes to an hour to dedicate to watching an entire podcast episode, which is what most of my previous podcast episodes were when we're thinking about length. They were really big deep dives, which I love, to be quite honest with you. 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes on a topic or several topics. But the way I want to relaunch the podcast here is having each episode be a bit shorter and a bit more focused on one topic. And I get so many questions from listeners like you of the podcast, from people who follow me on social media, from the clients that I work with on a daily basis. And I thought what could be really cool is to just take those individual questions, one individual question that I actually got from somebody, and focus podcast episodes on those specific questions. Okay, so just like the one that we are going to be focusing on today, where we're going to talk about how to curb late night cravings, that was a question that I got from one of my clients. So I'm excited to relaunch it with this format. And if you ever have a question on your mind that you want answered and you would like me to do a 15 to 20 minute deep dive on that topic, feel free to send it my way. You can find me on social media everywhere at Chris Gates Fitness. My website is chrisgatesfitness.com. There's no shortage of ways to get in touch with me. You could even, wherever you're listening to this podcast, if it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere like that, if you want to leave a review with a comment, I would be happy to answer that question. But excited to, like I said, relaunch the podcast. And also, to just be completely transparent, 15 to 20 minute episodes are a lot easier for me to produce on a regular basis than hour-long episodes. So I think this is going to be good. I focus so much of my coaching on sustainability, right? Where if we want to lose weight or build muscle, you're a busy parent, you got so much stuff going on. Well, we have to figure out a way to fit it into your lifestyle where you can be consistent. And so I've taken that same approach here with the podcast to figure out how I can be consistent with publishing episodes. And this feels right. So excited to get things going here again. And like I said, excited to dive into today's topic. So let's talk about how to stop late night cravings before they derail all of your progress, right? I think that this is something that's common for just about everybody, where, you get to the end of the day, the kids go to bed, you've turned the TV on, maybe you're watching a game, watching Netflix, anything like that. Things finally quiet down, and then you have the opportunity and maybe even the urge to, snack or indulge a little bit. That's totally normal, but it also is something that can derail your progress if you're not careful about it. And I think the reasons for that probably make a lot of sense, right? If you're trying to really do anything with your body composition or health, we do need to be controlling calories to a degree. We need to make sure that, you're eating the right amount of foods, eating the right types of foods to fuel your body and build your body up, and hopefully not put on excessive amounts of body fat, and then just, put things in your body that cause you to feel sluggish or tired or lethargic. There's a lot to balance here, and it's something that can really get in the way. And like I said, this is normal. And so I don't want you to ever think that this is a me problem. This is an everybody problem. Okay. But the good news is there's ways that we can combat it. There's ways that we can get around it. And there are some tips and strategies that we can use to kind of get creative about ways to, not have those cravings, or, kind of trick yourself into feeling like, no, I'm not hungry. So we're going to break all that down in this episode. We're going to talk about why cravings happen, okay? Because I think it's an important place to start, to just outline like, hey, here's the reason why you're experiencing that. And then that can lead us to tackle, okay, then what do we do in the moment? What should I do in the moment when I feel these late night cravings coming on? How to set yourself up for fewer urges overall. Like that's a big piece to the puzzle too. So we'll dive into some strategies there where we can get proactive about trying to put you in a position where this just doesn't occur or doesn't occur as much. And then mindset shifts, I think, are important for us to go over to just try to make all of this easier. Okay, so I really hope this episode is super duper helpful. If it is, make sure you subscribe because there's lots more like this coming on the way. Yeah. Let's dive into it, okay? So let's first talk about why late night cravings happen, okay? And there's a number of reasons why. There's not one where it's like, hey, this is why it happens, and that's the deal for everybody. No, everybody has, individual circumstances and specific circumstances related to you and your lifestyle that's going to lead to why you have cravings that spike later in the day. Everybody's reasoning or the root causes are going to be distinctly different, but they are kind of like bucketed into categories that tend to lead you to be in that type of position. So we can start with like physiological factors. So that basically the things that happen in your body and the way that your body is formed and functions. And so lower calorie intake during the day is an easy one to identify, right? Like our body needs energy, and a calorie is quite literally a unit of energy. So if you're not eating enough, if you're skipping meals, or if you're trying to conserve calories earlier in the day to give yourself more flexibility later in the day, anything like that, like if we are just not having robust meals or eating enough earlier in the day, it very easily and pretty reliably leads to having those urges to eat later in the day, okay? So that's an easy one. Another one we can tackle is, within the calories that you eat and within the meals that you eat, what does your protein look like? What does your fiber look like? Protein and fiber are basically the two most filling things that you can eat on a daily basis. So the more that we can get of those in your diet, the fuller and more satisfied you're going to feel on the calories that you're eating. And that satiation is going to lead you throughout the day, right? And so if you're feeling full and more satisfied throughout the day from the meals that you're already eating, then that's probably going to lead to you having less of an urge to eat later in the day. Protein, obviously found in really lean sources like chicken, turkey, fish, beef. The more you can load up on that, it's going to make you feel full. And fiber is found in its highest quantities in fruits and vegetables primarily. So when I'm saying fiber, I don't mean like taking Metamucil, okay? I mean like we want to be loading up on whole nutritious forms of fiber that you eat in your diet to give you more food volume in your stomach to help you feel full, okay? And then obviously just having more fiber via fruits and vegetables, it's also going to give you a lot of other quality vitamins and minerals and nutrients that your body can use to be healthy. So there's a lot of pluses to having more fiber. A third piece to the puzzle here can be lack of sleep, okay? And I think the trickle-down effect here should be pretty obvious. If you wake up feeling tired and lethargic because you didn't get enough sleep last night, that is probably going to lead to you having less energy or enthusiasm or a worse mood to do things like meal prep, to cook, to weigh, to measure out food, to do the things that you're supposed to do when building a nutritious diet, right? So then we tend to reach for like the quicker, easier, more highly processed items, which tend to be higher in calories, right? They're just easy for us to snack on. Those are typically not very filling. They're not, they feel rewarding, but from a health standpoint, from a body composition standpoint, they do not reward you very much most of the time. And so then that can, lead to, your diet spiraling out of control. But from a physiological standpoint, we also know that like your hunger hormones are part of what dictate how much you eat. And when you get poor sleep, it increases a hunger hormone called ghrelin, which leads to you feeling hungrier. And it reduces a hunger hormone called leptin, which is actually the hunger hormone that makes you feel fuller and more satisfied. So that's going to cause some issues. Obviously, if we're not getting enough sleep, we have higher ghrelin levels. That leads us to feel more hungry. Then we're just going to want to be eating more food. And this kind of leads into the last physiological factor where it is important to know that your body in part functions on hunger hormones that are dictated on the normal pattern of eating that you have. Okay, so if you typically eat at the same times every day, then what you're going to find is that your hunger levels spike around those same times. So if you are always eating late at night, if you're always having these cravings at 9, 10 o'clock at night before bed, and then you eat a ton of food, your body's eventually going to get conditioned to expecting that food, expecting those calories at that time, which makes this challenging to navigate. But, the good thing to know is that if you can reverse that pattern, and it will be hard to do in the moment, but if you can reverse that pattern, what you can find is that after a few weeks of changing your schedule of eating, then you can condition your body to be on a different schedule that hopefully doesn't include the late night cravings that can, derail your diet and your progress. So that's a big piece to the puzzle too. Now, there are psychological factors. And so kind of what I just mentioned with the hunger hormones, your brain can also associate certain times of day with food. Right. And I can even, admit to this, where normally when I drive to pick up my kids from daycare, I have a diet cherry Pepsi on my way. It's like basically my little treat for the day. Okay. And I typically crack it open like halfway through the drive to daycare. And I've noticed on days where, like, if we run out, I don't have any, and I'm just going there with water, I'll notice that at that same point when I normally crack open the diet cherry Pepsi, my mouth starts to water a little bit. Like, I've literally noticed that because my brain is conditioned to have that thing at that time. This is real, okay? And so if you are conditioned to a certain time at night, or the minute the TV goes on, then the food goes in your mouth, like, your brain can associate this stuff too and cause you to feel those cravings when maybe you're not even hungry. It's just a pattern, right? It's a looped pattern. Emotional eating or stress relief, I think that's pretty common and understood that, like, oftentimes if you're stressed, or if you're going through an emotional period of time, that can lead to eating for comfort, right? And then, reward-seeking behavior is a piece to the puzzle as well. It's like after a long day, you put in a quality day of work, feel like you need to reward yourself for it, right? Do you need to reward yourself for it? Probably not, but we often do that. And how do we reward ourselves? We reward ourselves with food, sugary sweets, salty snacks, different stuff like that. So these are all the things that typically, these are the things that lead to why we feel these cravings at night, right? And so they're important pieces to the puzzle to acknowledge so that we can move forward, all right? Now, how can we resist these cravings immediately? There are things we can do in the moment to try and hack the system. And these are really kind of like just hacks. And I promise we'll get to maybe some more tried and true ways to do this in a few minutes. But let's go through some of these hacks that I've found are pretty effective. Okay. And this first one is maybe going to blow your mind. But think about brushing your teeth earlier. I know that sounds weird, but, like, have you ever brushed your teeth and then eaten food right after it? Normally the food or the drink or whatever it is, like, doesn't taste very good, right? Because you get that minty taste in your mouth, and it's like, ugh, I'm not getting anything out of this food that I just ate because it doesn't taste right. I'm just not enjoying it. And, like, that's the point, right? Brush your teeth before you get to that late night snacking period of time. That might be like a really simple thing you could do to curb a craving, okay? Drink some water. Oftentimes, if we have cravings, sometimes the reason we have a craving is not because we're craving food, it's because we're dehydrated from earlier in the day, and dehydration can reveal itself as like a hunger cue, okay? So drinking water, chugging a bunch of water in that moment or slightly prior to that moment can help. The 10-minute rule is a good one as well. Something I think that I've found really effective is like, okay, I got this craving coming on. I feel like I want to have something. Oftentimes it'll be like, I'll see my kids having like an Oreo ice cream sandwich. We just got these things from Costco. And I'll see them eating it. I'm like, oh, I don't need that. But boy, do I want it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wait 10 minutes. And typically I'll like wait 10 minutes and drink a bunch of water. And then after the 10 minutes are up, it's like, yeah, I don't really need that. I wanted it, but I don't want it now. And I know that I'm not actually hungry. The urge has passed and I can move on. Okay. So setting a 10-minute timer, like on your phone or on your watch, can actually be really effective. You just got to commit to, to lasting the 10 minutes. Going to bed earlier is one that's really effective. And I think this might sound strange, and it might be really hard because, if you have late night cravings, it's probably because you're up watching TV or you're up on your phone. this is one you can kind of kill two birds with one stone here, where it's like if you go to bed earlier, it's going to be great from a general health perspective because chances are you could benefit from getting more sleep. If you're a parent like I am, getting 6 hours of sleep a night, getting to bed a little bit earlier, that's going to help, right? And then that can lead to the next day going better because you're more well rested, you have more energy to prep the right foods and stuff like that, right? So there's a big trickle-down effect there. But also, if you go to bed at the time where you're normally stuffing your face, you can't eat while you're sleeping, right? Like it's so simple, it sounds dumb, but it's true. And there's a lot of, research associated with more sleep leading to better body composition, better weight loss progress. So there's a lot of reasons why going to bed earlier can benefit you. Keep tempting foods out of reach. Obvious one, right? Like something I've found effective, especially when I'm dieting, is those foods that maybe don't work towards my goals as effectively. I put them in the back of the fridge, right? And I put the things that I'm supposed to eat in front of them or in the pantry. Just make sure you're not tempting yourself every time you open that door, right? You're in control of that. So we can keep things out of sight, out of mind, and that can lead to this being a bit easier to navigate. Also, we can just find food swaps that are alternatives, that are not these foods that necessarily, are super high calorie and lead to you gaining weight or derailing your progress. You can have a late night snack that's highly nutritious. One that I love to have is I have Greek yogurt every single night. It tastes sweet. It tastes amazing. The Oikos 000 Greek yogurts is 90 calories per cup and 15 grams of protein, right? It's an amazing late night snack that tastes great and it, helps satisfy that craving. And sometimes on top of that, since I love sweet at night, I'll stack on these Outshine bars. They're just frozen fruit bars that are 60 calories a piece and they taste unbelievable. Okay. So there are things you can do to just take those foods, if it's chips or pretzels or, mixed nuts or whatever it might be that are really high in calories and not nutritious. You can find something else that is nutritious that you like and eat that instead. Okay. So food swaps are a great opportunity as well. And then the last thing is you could do an activity, right? A non-food related activity. Something I like to do at night when winding down instead of just sitting mindlessly on the couch is stretch. I'll stretch for 10 or 15 minutes. Helps my body feel great. I'm thinking about stretching. I'm thinking about breathing. I'm thinking about my muscles while I'm doing that. What I'm not thinking about? I'm not thinking about food. Okay, so those are options as well. So those are kind of the hacks, okay? Let's get into more of the tried and true strategies too, because there are reliable things that you can do on a day-to-day and week-to-week basis that are going to make this a lot easier. Number one is focusing on the meals you have throughout the day, right? So we can build more robust meals based on some of those principles I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, focusing on fiber, focusing on protein. We can build more robust meals earlier in the day that lead to more satisfaction and fullness throughout the day, right? This is probably the most effective one because if we can build more robust meals that are high in protein, high in fiber, full of fruits and vegetables, high volume, you're just not going to feel as hungry later in the day. You just won't. You'll have kind of that uncomfortable bloated feeling sometimes because you had so much fiber and protein. Not a bad thing, right? That's kind of your body saying I don't need more food, right? And when you get that signal from your body, then you know how to read and react to it. Don't be afraid of doing that. And I think oftentimes going into number two, which is not fearing eating earlier in the day. Sometimes people think I don't want to eat too much earlier in the day because I want to have flexibility later in the day to have a snack or have some enjoyment here. But it's what you're doing is actually setting yourself up for failure in that situation because when you do think about saving calories for later in the day and you do it all the time, that can lead to this restrict and then binge cycle where it gets really hard to control your calories later in the day because of how ravenously hungry you make yourself by skipping breakfast and having a salad at lunch. You're going to be starving at the end of the day. And so that actually makes the problem worse. So having more robust meals throughout the day definitely helps. Sometimes you can also just schedule an intentional day or two where you allow yourself to have an indulgent snack. And then the rest of the week, it's now I'm just going to have the Greek yogurt or something, right? You can build in flexibility where you have some of those things occasionally, but not all the time. And this also goes back to like intentionally just having a snack that fits your goals, right? Like the Greek yogurt or cottage cheese or a cheese stick or like something small like that that still tastes good to you, that's still satisfying for you, but doesn't blow your calories out of control. And, similar to what I mentioned before, where it's like your eating schedule, your hunger hormones spike at these times of day where you normally eat. Having a eating schedule that does not include the late night snack is a great way to prevent late night snacking, because if you're not regularly including it, your body over time will stop expecting it, right? Does that make sense? So that's a tough transition to make, but it absolutely is something that can benefit you and make this whole process easier. So I hope this all was helpful. Thank you so much for joining me in today's episode. I think I hit the 20-minute mark. Might have gone a little bit over just because we had the introduction there to talk about what we're doing here. But excited for shorter and more direct podcast episodes here as we move forward. And like I said before, if you have questions that you want added to the mix, let me know. Otherwise, make sure that you're subscribed so you get every episode the minute that it is released. And don't forget, I am a coach. And if you're interested in getting some help in your health and fitness journey, managing strategies and details like this to set you up for success, eliminate all the guesswork, and help you as a busy parent get happier, healthier, stronger, build muscle, burn fat, and just make this all sustainable. ChrisGatesFitness.com is where you can find me, and I would love to help you reach your goals. But until next time, thanks again so much for listening and watching, and I will talk to you again soon.